Hello, Michael DeLeon, Steered Straight. Coming to you from our offices in Tennessee, our thrift store we opened up. We're trying to raise money to cover the schools that have no budgets. We don't say no to a school if a school district calls us and wants prevention programs brought in, but they have no budget. There are school districts that say they literally have no budget. We have to, figure out a way to do it. So our amazing team here at Steered Straight will try to coordinate with school districts in the surrounding areas so we can go to the school district that has no budget for free. But in the event that we can't find the funding, then we have to do it for free, and we're trying to cover those costs. So we have an incredible thrift store that we opened up, and we are desperate for donations. If you're anywhere near Nashville, Tennessee, you can come to this store. It's incredible. We've got some great things that we're trying to sell to raise money for our nonprofit organization. Today I want to talk to you about drug tests. It's imperative that parents look at drug testing differently. Many times people look at drug testing as if it's a crisis moment. You're trying to catch your kid on drugs, trying to see if your kid has been using drugs. But I've always advocated for the drug test to be used in a preventative way, a deterrence. And middle school is the best place to deter kids from experimentation with drugs. 5th through 8th grade. 5th grade better than 8th grade, but middle school is where the deterrence can take place. Better than any other age demographic. So I tell parents that if you drug test your middle school kids 3 times a year, all 3 years of middle school, 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, that you can reduce drug experimentation in high school by over 50%. We're in the middle of a pilot study in Arizona where we're proving this, but I know that if you drug test your kids as a deterrence, not to catch them, a deterrence, your child can then use it as an escape mechanism. When the friend says, hey, you want to smoke weed after school? They can say, my mom is crazy. She drug tests me, and if I get caught smoking weed with you, I'll lose my iPhone 11. And I'm in the 6th grade. I need my iPhone 11. So guess what? Your kids will use it as an escape mechanism. They will absolutely be able to tell their peers, that it's a panacea phenomenon, not that it's going to 100% prevent your kids from saying yes to drugs or experimenting with drugs, but it's going to be a good escape mechanism. Drug testing is critically important. This is a drug test that's oral for saliva. The average price of these is $30 to $60 in the drugstores, the pharmacies, online. We have them very, very inexpensive, less than $10. We advocate for this. Drug testing your child. This is a 6-panel test. You can find out if your child has consumed THC or amphetamines or meth or opioids or cocaine or PCP, and a saliva test. This is at home, and you can find out if your kid has been using drug tests through a saliva method. This right here is a nicotine oral test. Incredibly important in this era of vaping. You have to find out if your kids have been vaping or smoking cigarettes. Once that nicotine goes into the body, it metabolizes. This drug test, the saliva, for less than $10, will pick up that chemical in their saliva. And I can tell you, this test can tell you if your child's been vaping or using nicotine. Very inexpensive, incredible. The number one reason that parents say they won't drug test their kids is that they want their kids to know they trust them. So I'm not going to say that's right or wrong. I'm not going to tell a parent how to be a parent. I just think that's a crazy reason not to deterrently drug test your children. So we partnered with a company that does surface testing. This is the marijuana test, the THC test. This can surface test your child's phone, tablet, laptop, game system, desk in their room. You take this test, $2.50 is all this costs, 4 for $10. There's a special swab in the test, and you take it into the room and you swab the surface. You rub the panel. If the panel turns red, you have THC on the surface of that room. Now, a lot of parents say, well, how long will the substance stay on the surface? I mean, that depends on how well your kids clean their room. So maybe some parents will think forever, right? But I feel comfortable saying 5 to 7 days. But you have to do this on an ongoing basis. I believe you should do this once a month if you suspect your middle school kids are hanging out with kids who are using, marijuana. This is a very important test. And I'll also tell you that maybe you don't think your kids would use marijuana. Maybe you don't think your kids would experiment with marijuana. Well, now, THC is so prevalent in these vaping devices, many kids don't even know that they're using THC. 3 years ago, I was being handed vapes from kids after school assemblies. They would hand me their vapes. And I would surface test the vapes. I would test a vape. If you catch your kid with a vape, you could take this swab. You could swab that vape. I could tell you if THC is in that vape because I didn't want to get on a plane with a THC vape. So 3 years ago, about 10% of our vapes contain THC. Last year, 20% of the vapes that I was handed test positive for THC. And this year so far, over a third. It's about 35% of the vapes that I have been handed this year, 2020, have tested positive for THC. I know that kids are using more. I know that there are more kids using THC in their vapes, and they do know it. But many kids don't know it. If they share a vape with a kid, if they use another friend's vape, they might not know that THC's in that vape. Maybe that good friend might not even tell them. This is a way for you to test the surfaces of your child's room. You could test vapes through an oral test. You could test if they have THC in their mouth. You could test if they have nicotine in their mouth. Drug testing, not to catch your kids, to deter them. Because deterrence goes a long way, 5th through 8th grade. Drug testing, one of the most important things that I could recommend to a parent. Please don't think you're a bad parent. Don't think you're a parent that has bad kids. It has nothing to do with that. It has to do with the desensitization of THC, marijuana, and nicotine among this generation. They are being targeted. And these kids don't believe that these substances are harmful. So you and I growing up in the 70s and the 80s, or if you're like me, the 60s, you know, marijuana was taken a little bit differently. Ooh, it was a drug. Now, it's not a drug to these kids anymore. It's legal. It's no big deal. It's just like alcohol. It's a big problem. Highest use of THC among adolescents in our country's history right now. Highest use of nicotine among our adolescents in our country's history right now. Drug testing is something that you can do in a preventative way to deter your kids from using drugs. Please look on our website, go to our website. All these drug tests are available very, very inexpensively. It'll raise the protective factors and it'll deter your kids. Michael DeLeon, steeredstraight.org. Thank you very much.